Jazz here, and I am so digging the GeekCast radio network.
Greetings, humans. This is Starscream, and you're listening to ToyCast. And if any of you call me a parts former one more time...
Now, ToyCast. Oh, yes. Listen in to the only toy podcast you will ever need.
Hello and welcome to an all-new generation of ToyCast as we get the origins of any and all toy fans that we can. I'm, of course, Chief Joe and Mike, and joining me in this episode of ToyCast Origins is Mr. Joe Reed. Hello, sir.
Hello. You mean we're not talking about a Ninja Turtle comic?
No, not this time, no.
Wow.
I'm actually surprised that the IDW comics don't have a full-on toy line from Playmates or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I expect someday there will be at least some statues based on a couple of the different artists, but yeah, no toy lines yet.
God. You know, they got a toy line for everything else, Turtles. You'd think they'd have one for what is arguably the best Turtles comic ever.
And with some of the most extraordinary and diverse, is that the right word? Diverse art?
Yeah, very diverse art and very, very, like, the writing is solid. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been recording Turtles Comics Podcast since January of 2014. I will put a link in the show notes so you guys can go over there and listen to all... Oh, there's probably... Well, I know there's at least 100 episodes. But there's probably more than that. I'm not exactly sure how many, but yes. But we are here to talk about toys today because Joe is a toy fan and a toy collector. And, oh boy, what is or was the first toy you remember having as a kid?
One of the earliest toys that I recall was a Mork from Ork egg clock radio with, I think the Robin Williams was inside the egg, or like the door opened and it was a radio. I apparently really loved the show as a 2 or 3 year old, and that was something that I got at some point. And I only have this one memory of it, being in my infant bedroom, sitting on the floor playing with that, and I can feel it in my hands and see it, and I can hear the music playing. I don't remember what it was playing, but that was the only memory I have of it. And then I kind of grew up with my mom talking about that, being, oh, you loved that show, you loved Robin Williams and Nanu, and I couldn't remember it, never saw it. And then, of course, because the internet happens, you scroll through a Facebook toy group and you're like, there it is, mm-hmm. That's the Mork from Ork egg that I had as a baby. But
there's my childhood. How much is it going to cost my soul to get it back?
Thankfully, that just it didn't, like, it doesn't feel indelible, as like it doesn't feel like a hole that I need to fill to find this thing. If I could see one and touch one, that would be enough. But right now, the picture on the internet is enough. I don't want to spend any money.
Was there a particular adult who was supportive of you playing with toys as a kid? Was there anyone who was unsupportive?
No, I was thankfully blessed with the type of mother and father who did not sell my toys off, and so I guess they supported it in that way. And I didn't have the most toys out of my friends. I didn't have the best toys out of my friends. There were toys that I wanted very badly and that I asked for and didn't get, but I did definitely have an ample supply, and when I look through my collection, whatever on the shelf that's currently behind me now, a lot of them are the toys that I grew up with, damaged and wrecked as they are, or the toys that I bought myself as a teenager and college student. So I never really became a toy collector. It was much just kind of evolved into that because I had a mom who bought my toys for me when I was a kid and never asked me to throw them away.
Cool. What types of toys were your favorites to play with as a kid?
I was definitely the action figure variety, and I would have large, elaborate play sessions where the characters would do the voices and they would animate their movements. I was basically kind of living out the cartoon shows with my own stories with the action figures in front of me. Even my stuffed animals had like little, I don't want to call them stage plays, but they were episodic adventures that were in my head that I would animate them. Of course we had special brands and genres that you might end up going into detail with later, but
right.
Definitely action figures were my thing.
What were your favorite childhood toys that really stood out more than the others? So basically did the He-Man stuff stand out more? Did the Transformers stuff? Did the G.I. Joe stuff? Did you play with Star Wars more? That kind of thing.
Yeah. As I was growing up, the new things would come out, and we didn't have all of the money in the world, and so I selected the thing. And then you go to school with this thing that you selected, and it's us versus them. Like I remember in one of my elementary schools that I went to, it was the Transformer kids played over on this side of the playground, and the G.I. Joe kids played over on that side of the playground. And when we got together in the middle of the playground, it was Transformers are better. G.I. Joe uses guns and they shoot each other. Well, Transformers has cars and they race. I didn't get to pick everything. Didn't get into He-Man, didn't get into G.I. Joe, but I was definitely a Transformers kid, probably through 6th or 7th grade, maybe a little younger than that too. But Ninja Turtles got me big. The Playmates action figures, or was it Playmates back then in the 80s, 90s?
Oh yeah,
I can't remember who sold
Playmates.
Yeah, the Playmates got bought by somebody. The new ones aren't Playmates, are they?
I think they are.
I don't have them sealed in a box over here to check. I thought they got bought. Maybe the name stayed the same, but Transformers and Ninja Turtles were my jam growing up. That was what I focused on. My cousin had the G.I. Joes, and on Christmas at my grandma on my dad's side, we'd go over to their house, and he would bring his Christmas haul of the giant spaceship launching thing and the big tanks with the bridges that folded out and all little guys. We'd have a war, and I'd have no clue how to play with G.I. Joes because I just wasn't into it, but it was cool. And I'd be over here with my Transformer in the corner, clack, 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 clack. But the Ninja Turtles, and that's one of the things that I have a very, very clear memory of. It would have been 88 or 89. We go over to an adult friend of ours, my mom and dad, her boss from work. We go over there to hang out one evening at their house, and on his end table is this little green thing with like half a dozen weapons stuck into his belt all over, just crammed in. And he had this orange thing and a grimace on his face, and I played with that thing all night. And it was the first Ninja Turtle that I had ever seen, and I didn't know what it was, but it was a Michelangelo Ninja Turtle. I went home to my house in South Bend, Indiana, and shortly after we moved up here to Grand Rapids, where I'm at now, and it was on television here. It was this cartoon, and that was where it all started, with that orange Michelangelo first release Playmates Ninja Turtle. That was my first thing, and that blew open the doors for everything that I have become.
Absolutely. Well, when Mikey's putting Choco Puffs on pizza, I mean, it's kind of hard not to have the doors blown open. Do you prefer the label of action figures, dolls, toys, or other labels?
Each of those labels gives me a little shudder of discomfort. Because that's not what they are for me anymore. They were as kids. They were toys when I grew up because I played with them and I acted out situations that taught me about socializing and good versus evil and values and communication. But action figures, okay, that's what they do. Dolls, yes, that's what they are. But of course, that rubs me in a slightly uncomfortable way. Not out of a gender thing, but just that's not what they do. What they are for me are totems. They're a little petroleum-based product that represents some character or ideal or personality in my head, or it represents a memory for my childhood. And so I don't exactly like to identify myself as toy collector because I don't feel that's what I'm doing. Especially Transformers, and as I sit here and talk about this, I have the Earthrise Optimus Prime action figure in my hands, which hopefully you're not picking up too much clicking over the microphone, but this is like the best Optimus Prime ever. It has that G1 kind of aesthetic and look and proportions. It feels like it's the same size as it was when I was 6 years old playing with it. But I don't play with it. I don't walk around, I am Optimus Prime, come here, unless I'm playing with my kids. But
right.
But it is a representation of like my childhood. It's a memory. It's connecting me to my youth. So toys, okay. Action figures, probably. But it's a totem. It's a memory made physical.
There you go. Good guys or bad guys, which were your favorites to play with the most?
I was totally good guys, and even more than that, it's always the main guy. It's Optimus
Leo,
Prime.
Optimus Prime, yeah.
Leonardo. It's Kermit the Frog. It's He-Man. It's Earthworm Jim. Just the Earthworm Jim character. Nobody else. It was always that kind of Boy Scout main character that got me. And maybe it was because those were the ones that you could find on the shelf, although nowadays the main guy is the ones that's short-packed and everybody wants it, so it's hard to find. But
honestly, it's hard to find any toys these days.
With the pandemic has been terrible, partly because I don't go out anywhere. Another part is the distribution has been abysmal and slow, understandably so. I'm not angry or upset at that. It's just what happens when, half the world shuts down and a boat parks sideways in the Suez Canal. Stuff like that happens. But, yeah. And Matt Tracker from Mask. My cousin had the Mask toys with the gas station with the rolling boulder and the awesome semi-truck Rhino. But yeah, it's always the main guy, the Boy Scout, the plain Jane main character that did it for me.
Yeah, I had most of the Mask toys. I even had Boulder Hill for like 3 months or something until I destroyed it or something back then. I honestly don't remember. Like, I need to actually look up a video review or something of Boulder Hill, because I remember it was, yeah, you're right, it is the gas station, it does have the boulder on it, whatever, but honestly I barely remember that toy.
Yeah, the armored wall slides around the front of it, and the car can come out the garage. That was neat. Played with that. I would, if I could find a Rhino for a good price, I think I would have to have that, because I'm a sucker for semis. Thanks, Optimus.
What is or was your favorite toy vehicle or playset?
Oh man, that's really hard. Now or then?
Is or was? It could be current or it could be current, or it could be way back then.
There was one of the toys that I remember playing a lot with. Well, it was a Lego, I think. There was a Lego minifigure, one of the knights, and I think in my imagination it was the hero from the Dragon Warrior game, and because I had so many different genre of Legos, they would have this like Mortal Kombat, all these different realms will get teleported to one realm and have this big mega battle. And because I was into knights in armor at the time, that character would always win. And those are some of my, I think, most numerous play sessions were with the Lego minifigures doing giant Mortal Kombat deathmatch thing. And there was a Leonardo. I think my Turtles action figures did that too. And I remember one of the Leonardo figures I had, probably the original. I would cram every katana, sharp-bladed weapon, mace thing into his belt that I could, and he'd go in there decked out, and my sword broke, I had to chuck that away, and he'd go at this, and the other Ninja Turtles bad guys were the villains he had to get through. I'm very video gamey now that I think about it.
This is really, really sad. So, I am looking at I looked up on eBay the Mask Rhino, and oh my god. For a complete version of it with the box, there is a listing on here and why you're going to charge this much and not offer free shipping is beyond me. $289.95.
No, I don't think I need it that bad.
There's another one on here for $320 plus $30 shipping. Again, if you're going to charge something that much, I mean, I get it. It's the toy. It probably has that kind of value. I don't know. I'm not looking up at the toy, but I'm looking at the picture. Mm-hmm. He has the box. He has the styrofoam. He has the manual. The truck looks okay. He has, I think, 3 figures here. But I'm sorry. $350 shipped? That's ridiculous.
My guess on that is that, yes, it's worth every penny of that. And the reason that they are not charging shipping is because the purchaser is going to want to say, no, I want that insured. No, I want that sent FedEx, not USPS. And they're leaving that open for the shipper to decide, or the purchaser to decide. Because, my golly, yeah, and something that size, I have to imagine, would actually be kind of expensive to ship. I mean, starting at
I mean, $30. I'm not saying, I understand charging for shipping. I get it, but I mean, charging for shipping is like maybe and again, I know this toy has value because it's 36 years old at this point, kind of thing. There is one on here. Mask Rhino Matte Tracker unused stickers, $800. It's got the box. It looks like it's pretty much in the it has never been open. Yeah, all of these pictures. Okay, yeah, all of the pictures so far are just the box, and then there's a couple of pictures with the truck in the styrofoam. Yeah, the truck isn't even out of the styrofoam. It's basically brand spanking new. And $800, holy crap! I am so glad I do not need to get my childhood back.
One of the issues with those toys was the Mask toys in particular. I'm looking at the bottom of my Matte Tracker figure, and it says made by Kenner, but I think it was licensed to Kenner, and I want to say Tonka made these, and the plastic is very, very brittle, and as those age, they do not hold up. The springs get worn out, the plastic yellows and becomes brittle, and so it's very, very difficult to find these things in any sort of good condition, let alone with the box and manual. So that's about the only way that you're going to get one that isn't just totally turned to powder.
And I mean, like I said, I'm not sitting here trying to say, oh my god, it shouldn't be this, because I don't know what the actual value of it is. It's just, I'm sorry. Those eBay prices they're just shocking me. I mean, I get it. It is the toy that it is, but holy crap.
And it's also the pandemic, which drove everything up. And you can look at, especially with video games, like on the price charting website, when that first stimulus check came out, boom, prices shot up. And then when the second stimulus check boom, the prices shot up. And it's because, well, you know what? A lot of us people that want these toys are 40-something years old. We're in a decent job that didn't lay us off, and we don't need this stimulus money. So what am I going to do with it? Well, I'm going to buy a PS5, or I'm going to buy that thing that I never got as a kid.
Yeah. Okay. It's funny you say that you talk about, making voices with Optimus Prime and whatever. So, did you and your friends ever pretend with your toys that you had? By this, I mean, did you say, I'm going to be this version of Optimus Prime, and I'm going to hit my buddy Mike Powers over the head with this Optimus Prime, and I'm going to hit his Megatron, or that kind of thing?
I did not. I was a single child, only child. Single child? No, you say only child. I was an only child. And so most of my playtime was imaginative on my own in my bedroom or in the living room or in the basement, wherever I happened to be playing. But the times that I remember playing with friends, it was video games or Legos. And I didn't have two-player or two people back and forth, that type of thing. Which is kind of, I wonder if that's why, or it has something to do with how I don't do well in those social situations. Like, I am kind of a loner and an introvert. Very interesting. I'm going to have to pontificate on that later.
See, I told you we would bring the psychology out of it here.
Oh, yeah.
For Pete's sake, I'm pontificating here. Sheesh.
Yeah, so what features define a good toy to you? How true does the item feel in comparison to the source material likeness?
That is moderately important. I think the big collection I have now is our Optimus Primes, and I collected for a number of years every Optimus Prime plastic thing that I came across, every single one. And nowadays, since I have two children, just out of not having the time to drive around and look and browse the internet to find those things, I just buy the cool ones that I find now, or the main ones that come out in a new line. And what I look for in just about all of my action figures nowadays are points of articulation, posability, and with Transformers in particular, it's interesting transformations. And for a number of years now, after going to some of the Transformers conventions, I'm following the engineers and the designers of these things, and I'm watching them learn this particular technique. The shell formers, where the body of this organic vehicle would just turn inside out and it would become the geometric robot. Like, wow, all right. I get to see them do the different things and solve problems different ways as even the Optimus Prime evolves. 50% of them are square cab with blue dual tire back end. How many different ways can you make that turn into a robot? And they keep coming up with new interesting ways that get the panels out of the way so he has ab crunch, or can you do it so that the matrix opens up and comes out of his chest? And this Earthrise Prime is one of the best. It's playable. Like, it's not going to break. It's not going to. I would not hesitate giving this to my 4-year-old to play with. And the next time they come out with a figure like this, they'll solve the only problem on this, which is the two front tire pieces of kibble in the back. But the Marvel Legends that I collect, those, it's the points of articulation. It's a double jointed elbow and a double jointed knee. And my wife, who I dragged into geekdom, not reluctantly, she just did it with a laugh at my expense. She now knows. So, Joe, how many points of articulation does that one have when I come home with a new toy? Or, does that one have double-jointed knees? Could you tell me, please? My wife does not sound like that, but she does when she's making fun of me.
That's funny. What does toy packaging have to draw you in? So basically, the toy package is essentially the comic book cover. And everybody needs something on a comic book cover to basically make them do a double take. So what for you is it about toy packaging that makes you want to get that toy?
Nowadays, it would be retro homage type packaging. That would at least make me take a double take at it. Mm-hmm. But packaging has never been a draw for me, and because I'm a rip it out of the package and generally, throw the package away type of guy. But like, what was it? I kept the Voltron lions that came out with the Netflix series. There was something about those card backs that I kept those. They're sitting over here in the corner. So yeah, I guess that did something for me. But no, I mean, I'm not shopping for action figures by browsing around and checking that out. But generally, there's a line of Ninja Turtle figures out that makes them look like the old packaging. Mm-hmm. And those caught my eye, and then I looked at them and said, well, those only have 5 points of articulation. I'm not going to buy those. And so I walked on by. But yeah, no, not really. Because generally where I'm learning about toys is online, looking at other people's pictures of them out of the box, so I don't even get to see the packaging. Mm.
If, as a kid or an adult, you only were allowed to choose one toy franchise to collect from, which one would you choose and why?
For about a half a second, I thought that was going to be a hard question to answer, because it's Ninja Turtles or Transformers, and it's totally Transformers. I think that's easy.
Really?
Yep.
That surprises me.
Nope, it's Transformers because you get value for the figure. Optimus Prime is a robot who's a character who talks, who has a backstory, a history, and a personality. And then he's a truck that you can drive around and race and roll through the mud if you wanted to. And then where I get my value out of action figures now is I can take him off the shelf and I can go upstairs and sit on the couch with my wife and do like hand puzzle activity back and forth, robot truck, to keep my hands busy. So it's like 3 toys in one. And so
I'm going to edit this out, but I'm going to edit this part out, but I think if you're sitting next to your wife, your hands would be fairly busy.
No, we're not like that. Totally, you don't have to edit that out. If she listens to this podcast, she'll be like, "Oh no, totally, we don't touch each other." When I say Netflix and chill, that means I'm sitting on this side of the couch with an Optimus Prime in my hand. She's over there. She's browsing on her cell phone, and we're perfectly content watching or ignoring Netflix while we fiddle around with whatever's in our hands, and it's not each other.
Sorry,
no, totally fine, man. It's a joke for us. We are atypical. I'm just glad she tolerates all of this nerddom that I'm surrounded with. I try not to let it infiltrate the living room or the dining room. The pandemic made that a little harder because I started a bunch of projects. I customize things. I paint them. I touch them up. I buy other people's broken third-party Transformer figures and then mold and cast plastic gears to rebuild it. And so those projects tend to kind of sit upstairs out. But no, it doesn't invade there. It lives in the basement on my office desk and in my nerd room.
There you go. As an adult, do you prefer vintage or modern toys?
Knowing my personality, it's weird for me to say modern toys. And because I think you get the idealized version of that character that you remember. Like this thing is this Optimus Prime in my hands. It's the best version of the figure we've ever got. He has knees and elbows, and a neck that turns. So, and shoulders that rise up above his head, which that's, you didn't get that as a kid. So it's an idealized version of that character. I mean, I still have my actual Optimus Prime that I got, Christmas of '84. Mm-hmm. Still have him with his fists, but this is the one that is actually worth playing with. Yeah.
What is one toy you can always play with?
That's... I can't... I don't think I can pick one. Because it really is, like, which one am I in the mood for today?
Right.
Maybe I'll look at that question like if I could only eat one food for the rest of my life. So, like, what's the hand candy Optimus Prime that I would want to sit on my couch with for the rest of my life? Magic Square Optimus Prime, I think. It was a third-party version of him that is pretty decently posable, although it is a little fragile. Honestly, I need to put more thought into that because I have too many. But as I'm sitting here with it in my hands, this Optimus Prime is just very nearly perfect. It's durable, it's articulated, and it has the trailer. So, like, really, would I rather play with that? I'm going to break the legs off of that someday going back and forth. This one I'll never break. So I'm biased because it's the one that's in front of my hands.
Wow, that one actually looks really cool. The Magic Square one, I'm looking at it now. Holy crap. Yeah,
there were 3 companies that came out about the same time with a G1 Optimus Prime. Hasbro came out with the 3rd version of their Masterpiece Optimus Prime. And it is... I don't even know how they got the price so expensive, but it's almost $450 or $350. And it looks good. It looks like the cartoon. Mm-hmm. And then Magic Square did one, and another company that I can't remember, and it's all the G1 cab. Glancing at it, people could not... I don't think you could tell the difference glancing at it. You have to get in there and see where the joints and things are. But I think for the price and what it did, the Magic Square was the best of them.
Wow. All right. Even though there are always toy lines that people never purchase, are there any that you specifically and purposefully avoid? This can be toy lines, specific characters, etc.
I am a sucker for any of the lead characters, even from things that I didn't watch as a child. And while I am familiar with He-Man and watched the episodes and can get the jokes, I never really got into it. But right now there's a Skeletor and a He-Man figure that look like the vintage figures, but they have knees and elbows, and they're $14.99, and I want to buy those so bad to put it on the shelf because I want the lead character and I want the lead villain. I don't want anybody else. And I want the new G.I. Joe figures, the ones that they're releasing that are like Marvel Legends scale figures.
Yeah, the classified line.
Yeah. And I want Duke and Scarlet. I barely watched G.I. Joe growing up, but I want those characters, and I don't know. I think I have to get Snake Eyes, at least. But that just means I'm going to deprive him from somebody else who wants him more than me, but I guess.
Are there any toys in the past or currently that you wish you hadn't bought them? Are there any toys that you may have sold that you regret letting them go?
Any of the toys that I regret buying, I end up selling at the Geek Stuff garage sale, which is just a wonderful little nostalgia festival that I put on. There are things that I don't remember getting rid of that I stumble on and say, oh my God, I have to buy that. Like I had a couple of Popples growing up, and I don't remember ever throwing away any stuffed animals. But I saw a Popple at the Geek sale, like that's the one I had, and I bought it. And so like now it's back, it's on a shelf upstairs in my bedroom. The Boglins just did a Kickstarter, and I had a Boglin growing up, and it was a cute little puppet. And I love puppetry. It's another one of my way too many hobbies. And so that when that Kickstarter came out, don't know why I sold it, don't know why I got rid of it, don't remember getting rid of it, but I bought myself a new Boglin. I often regret buying Transformers because those are kind of impulse buys sometimes, or oh yeah, that character that I don't really remember from the cartoon who was just a background character, that looks like a cool transformation, and I buy it. And I sit in the living room and watch Netflix for a few evenings, transforming it back and forth. And then I'm like, I really only, if I do more than Optimus Prime, I'm going to get myself in trouble. And so then I sell it at the geek sale. I maybe regret selling the Armada Unicron, but I know that went to somebody who very, very much loved it. I sold him at the first geek sale. He was not for sale at the geek sale, but the dude saw that I had some Transformers, and he said, "Hey, have you ever seen a Unicron?" And I'm like, you know what? Wait a minute. And I go inside my house, and I go down to the basement, and I pull my Armada Unicron off the shelf, and I say, "Here he is." I sold it to the guy. Like, wasn't going to sell it, but he definitely wanted it more than I did.
There you go. How large or small is your toy collection? Do your toys take up the whole house, or are they relegated to one room shelf or something like that?
The eventual dream is to have a massive, I have a nerd room in the basement. It's separate from this office podcast room where I have a wall of various action figures, but in my nerd room, that is where everything will eventually be on display. But on one wall, I have all of my retro video game stuff hooked up with a television. On a second wall, I'm going to have all Transformers, and I built it's a 6-foot wide, 2-foot deep base platform where all of my Optimus Primes are, and this summer I'm going to be building an 8-foot long semi-trailer that the rest of my Optimus Primes will stand on inside and on top of, and I'm going to motorize it, and I'm going to light it with LEDs, and I'm going to eventually learn how to do Raspberry Pi and make it play Stan Bush Transformers when it opens up or as it's opening. And then when that's done, I'll build a shelf for my Megatrons, and I'll build a shelf for my Bumblebees. And I'll build an ARC diorama so that I can display the Legends class figures, the small ARC Autobots that I'm collecting. I've got a wall of Ninja Turtles where my comics and the Turtle action figures are. And then I have a Lego wall, but I think I'm going to get rid of the Legos. I think I'm going to say, you know what, Oliver? Here, these are your Legos now, son. May they be your burden and not mine. And then I will have a room with furniture and that people can come down and hang out in there, and that will be the very dedicated collections that I have. And this office here is going to be kind of be my catch-all everything else. So this is where you'll come to look at my model Deep Space Nine that I bought at the geek sale, the Iron Giant, the Casey Jones action figure, the Predaking, the Gundam robots, the Earthworm Jim, the Ghostbusters, the vintage figures, and the plasma figures. So, like, this is my catch-all. My one G.I. Joe vehicle over there. I'll get pictures of this stuff. I'll send it to you. So it keeps changing. It evolves because I find new things.
Yep. How do you keep track of your collection if you do?
I don't. I largely go by memory, which does get me in trouble sometimes. That hasn't been as big of a problem recently. It has been a problem with my comic books because I keep they live in 4 different spots depending on where I'm reading them, and I keep losing them and needing to buy them, and then I realize, oh my gosh, how did I end up with 3 copies of Ninja Turtles 72? I don't even know. But with the action figures, no, that I'm staying on top of my Optimus Primes. I'm staying on top of the third party and the first party releases of those. So that doesn't usually get me.
So you've mentioned that you have shelves here and shelves there. How do you display your toys? Do you put the Transformers with the Turtles? Do you put the G.I. Joes with the mask? That kind of stuff.
The nerd room is going to be a curated display of the vintage video games, the Optimuses. Everything's going to kind of be potted out. This room in here, I want it to be the mess. This is not mess, but I'm going to put my Star Wars figures next to my Muppets and my Iron Man next to Transformers and the Legolas figure. I kind of like that mix going, and I think maybe in this room I will have to do at least one shelf of the lead characters from that show. So put my Kermit next to Optimus, next to Leonardo, next to He-Man, next to Duke and whoever else I come up with.
Awesome. Okay, so heaven forbid anything happen, but if the house burns down, you, the kids, the wife, the pets, everybody is safe. You can only keep one toy from your entire collection. What would it be and why?
Probably my G1 Optimus Prime. And that's one of my earliest memories. The reason that I do like the Optimus Prime character above most others is that he reminds me of my grandpa, who I lost a number of years ago, but that stoic, wise, knows what to say and when to say it and how to say it to really just punch you right in the heart and make you understand very quickly. And so I think that figure represents my grandpa. That particular figure represents my grandpa in my head. And like I said, these action figures are totems, and so it would be like rescuing the totem of my grandfather by robbing that Optimus Prime off the shelf and dive outside as the house explodes.
There you go. All right, here's the toy box challenge. You get one 18 by 18 by 18 box. The only toys you can keep have to fit in the box. What can you pack into it?
I can pack quite a bit into that size box. And the my favorite part about that challenge is that it's not the most valuable figures. It's I mean, my G1 Optimus Prime would be in there. It'd probably be my top 5 Optimus figures, which would very easily fit in that box and have plenty of room left over. I think I'd have a couple of different sets of the Ninja Turtles packed in there. The NECA movie figures, the 6-inch ones. I'm assuming my house may still be on fire at this point, and so the ones that are like 2.5 feet tall, the movie figures that I got for a slick, awesome deal. No, those can burn up. I want the 6-inch ones because I can actually play with those. Those go in the box. And I'd still have plenty of room left over. I'd probably bring along some of those Megatrons over there, especially the ones that I repaired and painted. I could probably put the Transformers that I want in there and then just like sweep every single one of my Ninja Turtles into that box and have plenty of room. I'd be able to close the box if I did that. Yeah. That's really it. And, then that kind of actually helps me out. Thanks for asking that question, because everything else could probably go to the geek sale. Thanks, Mike. I just got a whole bunch of room and money.
There you go. I made you more money than that Bitcoin crap did.
Yeah, well, I'm up about $100.
There you go. Are you a Funko fan?
No.
Okay,
not enough points of articulation.
Yeah, there's not really any articulation, but the Turtles figures that they do look damn awesome.
I regret not buying the full set of Ninja Turtles because I do buy all the Ninja Turtles. Somebody gave me a Leonardo that they got in one of those subscription boxes, one really early back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, Joe likes Ninja Turtles. We'll give it to him.
All right, thank you. But I will admit to owning the Bob Ross Pop, the Ron Swanson Pop. They are both on the shelf behind me here. Did they do an Optimus Prime?
I am turning Joe into a Funko fan, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I need him for my Optimus Prime shelf. He's a cross-collectible.
So they have done
multiple... Oh, no. This sounds like it's going to be a plural.
Mm-hmm. They have done multiple versions of Optimus Prime.
All right.
Funko.
Pardon me, dear listeners, as I open a tab to YouTube. I wouldn't ordinarily do this while I was podcasting.
Don't do that now. I'll send you all the stuff later. Don't do that now.
All right.
So Funko has had the Transformers license, or a version of a Transformers license, since the 2007 or 2009 film, since the first or the second movie. They originally did movie versions of Funko Pop. So like movie Bumblebee or movie whatever, but they were the movie aesthetic where you saw the parts on the outside. As a Funko fan, I can straight up tell you, folks, those Transformers movie pops were some of the ugliest Funko Pops I have ever seen, and I love Funko Pops. So recently, as part of their Retro Toys line, they have G.I. Joe, they have Transformers, they have everything. They have released Optimus Prime and Megatron in multiple versions. Now, the main Optimus Prime version, the regular, that everyone can get, is Optimus Prime with his gun. With his rifle that he always had.
Mm-hmm.
And it literally looks just like take your 1984 toy, transform it, and put it next to this Funko Pop. The only difference is the Funko Pop's head is like 3 times the size of the Optimus Prime. You know what I mean? Because obviously Funko, big head, little body. So the multiple versions, they have the one where he has his rifle, which is the regular version. They did a GameStop lunchbox multi-pack where you could get 2 of 4 figures. They either had Optimus Prime and Cobra Commander or Megatron and Duke. The difference is Optimus Prime in the GameStop lunchbox has his orange energy axe instead of his gun. So when he and Megatron were fighting in, I think, the very first episode, and they pulled out the plasma energy weapons, that's the Optimus Prime that I'm actually holding the box in my hand. I'm looking right at his axe. And the Megatron version has the purple mace. They also, so far, have released a Nemesis Prime. So essentially the Black Optimus with the gun. But that goes for big bucks on eBay. I'll send you all stuff later.
It's too late. I already bought the Optimus Prime.
See, folks, I can turn anybody into a Funko fan.
All right, I'm up to 3. You can't call me a pop collector just yet.
As soon as you hit 5, you are.
Okay, I'll see what I can do. I could probably hit that. Is that a challenge?
Of course it is. I also have Grimlock. They've done.
I need to find Megatron. I think that might be next.
Yeah, see, they've got Optimus, Grimlock, Megatron, Soundwave, Starscream was a Target exclusive, Bumblebee, and a Bumblebee version that was a Target exclusive. The only difference is his doors are open. It's fine, whatever. They also have Jetfire, and I'm hoping they're going to be doing. I can't wait to see what Funko does with Shockwave. But anyways, what was the most money you spent on a toy?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think I've ever spent more. That has to be less than $200. I can't even think about what. I get really hesitant going, above 150, 140. Some of these third-party Optimus Primes get pretty expensive because they're cheap until you have to ship them from the other side of the world.
Right.
No, I know how much I've spent more on one comic than I think I have on all the rest of my toys.
Oh, wow.
I mean, not total, but yeah, I think that the most I've spent on a collectible is the $140 I spent to get issue 29 of Ninja Turtles Volume 4.
Interesting.
No, okay, well, no, I'm looking at something that I will eventually spend more money on. I'm currently doing the it might count as a toy, but the Build the Ghostbusters Ecto 1 from Eagle Moss. I saw Adam Savage building it on his YouTube channel, and I did the math a whole bunch of times and slowly justified the giant purchase to myself because it ends up being very expensive, but you pay for it over the course of 3 years. Not on credit. They just send you the parts and you have to put it together.
Right, there you go.
And I don't want to say the number out loud, but it's very high. It's very high.
4 figures? 5 figures?
4.
Ooh, dang.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
I I've justified it by the fact that there is an incredible amount of engineering going into that whole, and it's huge. It's almost 3 feet long. So this Ecto 1 will be 3 feet long. Most of it is die-cast metal and chrome. You open the hood, the engine's all there. It's incredibly detailed, lights and sounds. But between the engineering and the small bespoke nature of printing so few kits, because this isn't mass market, not really.
Right.
I can justify it. And then, of course, spreading it out over 3 years, and I'm having a fun time. So I'm buying the parts, the engineering, I'm paying for the engineers, and I'm paying for the experience of putting it together and customizing it. And so I've justified it.
There you go. All right. What was either the best deal or the cheapest toy you bought?
Free is pretty cheap.
Free is pretty cheap. Yeah.
Free is pretty cheap. One of the here's another Transformers story. So I go to TFCon in Toronto. This was 2 years ago, because we had a pandemic and they didn't have one last year. And when that convention was happening, what Transformers was doing were releasing these little, half-inch by half-inch heads. They were the Headmaster figures, but they changed the line over and made them Prime Masters, and they plugged into little Matrix shells that would go into the chest of most of the figures that were out at the time, and they released all 13 Primes. And so, you had to get these 3 little Legends figures for $5 a piece to get those Primes, and you'd have to get Optimus to get that Matrix Prime, and they transformed into the little, they folded open, and they were the little guy. One of the Primes was only with the $160 Predaking figure that they released, the giant one, and I don't want Predaking. All I want is that Prime Master, because I'm a collect 'em all, I have to get the whole set sort of guy. When they tell you that there's only going to be 13 of them, I'm going to have all 13. And so I go to TFCon in Toronto, and the first night that you show up there, you bring a toy or something to an auction, and you give them the thing to auction off for charity, and they give you tickets. Hey, thanks for donating this item for charity. And then you go over to these bags, and it's like a raffle for particular figures. And I gave them a stack of comics I didn't want, Transformers comics that I wasn't after, and they gave me 1 ticket for every comic, and I put 2 or 3 in that bag, and then the rest of the handful in the Predaking bag, because some vendor had put up a Predaking. And they pulled my name out of there, and I remember that guy. And for the Predaking, ruffle, Joseph Reed, and both my arms shot up in the air. Whoa! And he said, "That guy is really excited about this Predaking. Come on up and get it." And my friend who was with me was also after all the 13 Primes. I sat back down with the giant Predaking in my hand. He's staring at me like he wants to
kill you,
bite my head off. So, yep. What do you want for that? It was Predacon. I can't remember the name of the Headmaster, but it was Predacon something. Predaking. Predaking? No, that's the big guy.
Yeah, Predaking is the combined form.
Yeah, I'd have to go.
Razor Claw. Let's see. As if I remember this from memory. Razor Claw. Tantrum was the bull. Dive Bomb is the eagle.
Well done.
I forget the other ones.
Yeah, Razorback. I can't. I'd have to look. It was never my thing. He was in 2 or 3 episodes. I wanted the toy as a kid because I wanted everything as a kid, but nope, he's sitting on the shelf behind me there. I bought an upgrade kit for him since I didn't pay any money for him. I didn't feel so bad spending $45 or $50 for the gold-plated wings that replaced the Hasbro wings, and somebody might want it someday, and I will sell it, and I'll feel okay about that. I'll give him a deal because it didn't cost me anything.
There you go. What modern and/or vintage toy lines are you currently collecting?
First and third party Transformers. mostly the Optimus. I'm hankering for, man, any of the retro figures that are getting re-released and upgraded, like the Plasma series Ghostbusters. There's a couple more of those I'm hunting for because I want the Terror Dog that came in them. Waiting for the last few figures to go on clearance so I can buy it and get the rest of them. Oh, while I'm talking about the Plasma series figures, I bring home the 4 Ghostbusters, and here's a Terror Dog leg, another one, the 2 back legs, all right. And I'm talking about this at the dining room table to my wife, and I say, okay, yeah, the torso comes with Dana Barrett, and the head of the Terror Dog comes from Gozer. And I'm really upset because that's only one Terror Dog, and they were 2 Terror Dogs. And my son, without missing a beat, Oliver, says, well, I guess that just means you'll need to buy 2 sets of figures so that you'll have 2 Terror Dogs. And I shed a tear because, boy.
How old is Oliver now?
Oh, no. He said, but Dad, that's not how it went. He said, but Dad, they were 2 Terror Dogs. You're going to have to buy a whole other set of action figures. That's what he said. He was 9 at the time. But yes, I shed a tear. One, because he remembered, even only watching the movie once or twice, that there were, 2 Terror Dogs, and then that he thought, well, Dad, you have to get 2 sets now because there were 2 Terror Dogs. That's probably not a good thing that he does that, because that might be unhealthy as an adult.
Yes, well, look at us, okay? I forget off the top of my head how old you are, but I'm 41.
41, yep.
And not in my Funko collection. The only one that I will buy duplicates of is most likely Optimus, because, again, Nemesis Prime is a different character. I don't necessarily need Optimus, the Optimus with the rifle. I have the Optimus that I want. Mm-hmm. But when I was buying actual action figures from 2006 to 2011, we live in a time, folks, where you always buy 2, either one to open and play with or one to keep in the box. So what your son is telling you essentially is, you need 2 of them to make the set right so you can open it up and play. We've been doing this for years, folks.
I don't do too many boxed figures. There is a
right. No, I know, but I'm saying like the buying.
Yeah, buying
2 thing generally is so we can pull one out and play with it. And that didn't sound right.
Yeah. I'll tell you, when you do an episode on scalpers, I'd be interested in participating in that, because I do have kind of, animosity, but also at the same time understanding for the scalpers. Yeah. The geek sale that I run it's about getting the collectibles into the hands of the people who will be the final collector. And it's part of the conversation that goes on behind the scenes with my vendors, who are just regular people. I don't get comic convention vendors. There are a few people that have upgraded to that, but I talk to them and I say, look, I'm not charging you a dime to have this booth. That convention over there charges you $400 to have a table. That convention over there charges you $1,000 to have a table. I'm not charging you anything. And so when somebody comes up and they want something and you priced it give them less than eBay for it, by something. Let them bundle, let them put it together. I'm not saying to give it away. I'm not saying to lose money on it, but I'm not charging those people anything to be there. So we try not to scalp. The things that I sell are under eBay prices. Yeah.
Essentially, what you're saying is what one of the original co-hosts of this show always used to say. He was the guy that was always, if you wanted a figure and he had it, he would only charge you cost plus shipping. Mm-hmm. He was never out. He always believed in karma. His name was Gary Clark. His online name was Optimus Scourge. He passed away. Oh, fuck. It's been 2011. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, he passed away in 2011, and I kept this show going until 2014, and then I just stopped it until my buddy Josh said, "Hey, I have an idea," and I'm like, "Okay, good. I'm reinvigorated. I don't think Gary would mind if we brought the show back." And here we are now. We're 109 episodes in. 9 episodes in. Ugh. Anyway, but he was always that guy who believed in karma. What you put out into the world, you'll get back, kind of thing. So I think that's the same thing you're saying with how you're the organization, you're the person that does the sale that won't charge to have a table. It's all about everybody making what they can without feeling like, oh, Geek Stuff garage sale. There's nothing but scalpers there. There aren't, folks. Yeah. I'm not saying, I don't want people to hear me say that sarcastic. Like, that's not what it is at all, kind of thing. And I'm sure there are plenty of people that go to those $400 table conventions or whatever, and they maybe make good bank. Who knows? I don't know.
They do. I know some guys.
Okay, there you go. This question was obviously written before the pandemic, so do you visit toy shows or conventions?
Generally my own. The one that I don't do so well finding things at the comic conventions that have people selling toys, and mostly because the prices are so high. And I've noticed going to a couple of conventions here and there, you drive into town someplace that I've never been, and I hit the Target and the Walmart and whatever else they might have, and the shelves are bare. And then I go to the toy show or the convention, the comic convention, and I see all the toys that should be in the store for double the price. And I know what happened. These people rolled into town on a Wednesday to set up their booths, and they cleared the shelves to stock, or to get the new current toys, so that then there wasn't any competition at the convention for that figure that people were looking for. And on one hand, I understand doing that, because you go to the store, you see the figure on the shelf, and oh man, that $20 Marvel Legend sells for $45 on eBay right now. And one of my buddies said, okay, if you go to the grocery store, if you're out in public and you see $50 laying on the ground, do you bend down and take 25 and then put 25 change down so the next person can get it?
Yeah.
Or do you take it both? And when that was explained to me, okay, I understand why you do that now, because we're all educated, but I want the kids to get them, and I want the collectors to get them without having to pay too much. So, I help people out when I can. But the best conventions that I've been to, Mike, that was where I met you for the first time at the TFCon in Kentucky.
It was the final BotCon. So
yep. Yes.
Louisville, Kentucky killed BotCon. Actually, no, BotCon killed BotCon. BotCon is a whole other thing, folks. We're trying our best not to give it promotion anymore. But yes, in 2016, I was shocked as shit. I was at the Stan Bush concert. It was the only part of the convention I went to. My friend Amy had flown in from Arizona, and we were going to the Stan Bush concert because it was a free concert out on 4th Street Live in downtown Louisville. I ran into Proto Man, who actually runs TFCon. He's one of the runners of TFCon in Canada. And then I run into you, and I'm like, wait a minute, I know that voice. Holy shit, it's Joe. What the hell? Talk about a meeting that's off the cuff.
That was cool.
Yes, it was.
And it's we've been podcasting for years by that point, and it's I know you. We could start hanging out tomorrow, going to lunch places, and it wouldn't be we've known each other for years.
Yep.
But those conventions are both the BotCons that I had gone to and the TFCons are a totally different beast. Mostly because it's like going to a flea market, and at a flea market, I don't care about 90% of the booths that are there. But when I do find the cool booth, hey, this is the one I want to spend time in. But at TFCon and BotCon, every booth is the booth I want to spend time in. And that's different from even a comic convention. And so that targeted convention is way neat of an experience. And I do sell and buy things at those conventions. TFCon, the three buddies that go, or the two buddies that go with me to that, three of us total, we bring things to sell, and there's a thing they do. You leave your hotel door open and your room number on a tag down in the convention hall, and people can come up and buy stuff off your bed. And going from the United States to Canada, we're bringing figures that the Canadians don't get right away, and we're selling them for a good price. And then the exchange rate works in our favor. And so we do very well at that convention. I buy ridiculous things for very cheap, and I come home with more money and toys to play with and give to my children and to put on shelves. So that convention is incredible. Yes. But for the whole pandemic, no, everything's been Amazon and Target curbside pickup, which is to say, it's been a slow year.
Yeah. All right, folks, the next couple of questions, because I had a bunch of people help me with these 42 questions, and Joe was one of them, so now Joe has to answer his own questions.
Oh, boy.
What do you think it is about our generation that causes our childhood toys to mean so much more to us, for instance, than our parents' generation?
And man, that's a question that I want to, I could have a whole podcast topic about that. Get like 5 different people to give their opinions on that. But there was, when I wrote that question, that's because I wanted to hear the answers from the other people that you were going to ask this question to, because I'm not sure that I can answer it. For me, it kind of goes back to what I talked about earlier. These things are totems, memories made physical. Characters made physical, figures from literature and film made physical, that I need these to remember. If I didn't see them laying around, I'd forget that they exist, and I would forget the lessons that they taught me. So like that's the beginning of the answer. Like, I don't know, why doesn't my dad collect Tarzan action figures? Why aren't there Tarzan and Lone Ranger action figures getting updated and new releases? And like, I don't know what happened. Marketing, capitalism, something, I don't even know. And I think it's because we see this revival right now, because the kids who played with those toys in the 80s are the engineers and the designers and the writers and the movie makers and the cartoon makers. They're the fans now, getting to make toys that they wish they had. I think that's a component of it. But since writing that question, I came across a Facebook post from a friend of mine, and I might get the wording of this wrong, so bear with me, but it was a hypothetical, somebody saying to somebody else, "Oh, you mean you have a healthy relationship with your past and present, so you don't have to clutter your house with memorabilia?" And I kind of like, oh man, I feel seen. Like, is it because I don't have a healthy relationship with my childhood or my present day or my work life or my family life that I do this? I think I'm happy. I feel positive. I don't feel like I'm suppressing anything, but like, bam, that just hit me. And so that's something that I'm going to have to think about for a while and figure out what that is, because this isn't hoarding. I can still walk from here to there, and I do sell a lot of stuff from time to time, but yeah, I mean, do all of those designers, artists, creators, writers, showrunners, do they have a healthy relationship? I don't think it's a healthy relationship with capitalism and consumerism, right. But hopefully they're all right.
Hopefully. What is your motivation for purchasing toys to display, play, or fiddle?
I'm a fiddler, I think, but then also, yeah, there is the totem of it. I just picked up the He-Man that came out, 2003, 2004, that weird TV show one, and it's a memory of the Four Horsemen, the toy designers that pioneered that weird shoulder joint that made for more natural articulation and gave He-Man a giant broad-shouldered look. But like, man, action figures copy that all the time now. So like I get into the engineering of it and I get into the designers of it, and then it's the He-Man from that show. And I'm fiddling with it.
Yes, you are.
There you go.
Have you ever purchased a toy for a child with the ulterior motive of playing with it yourself?
I about said every day, but all the time. And that's the joy of having two children. Is that you do get to have excuses to buy things I wouldn't, and it's not even with the action figures so much. The kids know, like, those are Daddy's toys. We don't play with those. Mm-hmm. Or they'll occasionally say, "Hey, Dad, can you get that Optimus Prime down and let me play with it?" And that's where we get down on the floor together, and I make sure he doesn't break the arms off. But also, like, I get to do things like, let's order that Tinker Crate from the internet. I kind of want to put that together myself, and I'm an adult, and I could buy it, but it makes it much easier to justify when you can vicariously live through your child buying those more pointless sorts of things. But yeah, and the rescue bots, I can buy those and then say, okay, when he's done playing with those, I'll put those on a shelf because they're kind of cool. All right. I end up adopting a lot of my son's discarded toys. The Fortress Maximus he bought and the Triptychon, the new figures, he saved up his own money and bought those and now doesn't play with them anymore, so they get to live on this shelf back here.
There you go. This question is kind of similar to the last one, but have you ever purchased a vintage toy for a child because you thought it would be fun based on your own preferences?
I don't buy a lot of vintage figures. I think mostly for the fact that the playability is less because the points of articulation or the accessories that they came with or just having brittle plastic. So I don't think that I have, and I've never bought a vintage figure and then like tried to hide that under them. So I don't think so.
Yeah. You've mentioned that you do already, so I know that you do, and besides, I already knew that you did anyway, but do you do any toy modifications or customs, painting, building, build dioramas, that kind of stuff?
All of the above.
Yeah.
I love repairing, and one of the most striking things or most impressive things that that occurred with a build is somebody bought that the Masterpiece Megatron from Beast Wars, the purple T-Rex. Mm-hmm. That is a very expensive figure. I think it's a $250 figure.
$350, I think.
Okay, there you go. Yikes. Would have wanted it. Never would have bought it on my own. Dude comes across Transformers website selling action figures and says, I bought it, I opened it, I tried to transform it, and I broke the leg off. The gear is shattered. And I don't want it. I'm angry at it. $35. And like the post was 2 or 3 minutes old when I happened to scroll by it. And I'm like, I can't get the PM made fast enough. I can't PM you. I want that figure right now. And he says, it's broken, right? Yeah, 35. So I $35'd the guy, and knowing that he was going to lose his hat on shipping alone, like for the box, everything, he sent everything. Mm-hmm. And I opened it, looked at it, started taking pictures, took the whole waist assembly apart. The gear was in pieces and the mounting for it was in pieces. And so I took the other hip apart, got the gear, made a mold out of what is that stuff called? The silicone clay that we used to play with in kindergarten. Made a mold out of that, poured a 2-part epoxy to recast, to make a duplicate of the gear, and I rebuilt the hip assembly with styrene plastic. Fitted the new gear in with the spring and the mechanism that was still good, put my housing over the top of it, and painted it. And he has a ratcheting hip, and he can stand, walk, and transform, and you could barely tell that there was a repair there. It's a little thicker because I used styrene, and I wanted to make sure there's enough body, but I now have a $350 Megatron and that I never would have bought. I never would have been able to afford that ever, and so I'm excited. So somebody needs to find a broken Beast Wars Optimus Masterpiece figure, because I'm not paying for that one either. I'll buy it broken and fix it.
Beast Wars Megatron MP43 Masterpiece on BigBadToyStore.com is $319.99.
I got it for $35 and the price of a sheet of styrene.
There you go. All right. Do you think toy companies should specifically have adult collector toys, child toys, or find a way to mix them?
I don't know that you can even put that much thought into it deliberately anymore, because the adults are going to want the kids' versions as well. There's going to be enough adult collectors that will want the kids' versions as well. Like, even there are different lines of Transformers, and there is a kids line of Transformers. And yeah, we're fighting over those too, because they released RC in that line, and it's a really decent RC figure. And then they released a Build-A-Figure in the kids line, and so everybody wants to build a figure. It's just, I think we do need high-end action figures like the $100 Masterpiece Optimus Primes. Maybe not the $450 Optimus Primes, but yeah, we're going to need that. And I kind of wish we were even more awesome like Japan is, and how they handle their adult collector market. They're a much smaller country with fewer people. I don't know how they're able to sustain the manufacturing that they do over there, but all right, I'll do with what we can over here. But yeah, I don't think you can separate kids from the adults anymore, because it's just we're gonna all want all of it.
True. Just going back really quick, MP32 Optimus Primal is sold out on BigBadToyStore.com, but they list him as $125, which isn't bad for a masterpiece.
That one is small,
yeah,
which is kind of why I didn't buy it. Now, if that were, well, it wouldn't be in scale. I was gonna say if that were a foot and a half tall, or about 12 inches tall, like the G1 Optimus Prime MP thing is. That'd be great, but it's really small. I saw it on display at TFCon and was like, oh, I don't think so. Mm-hmm. I'll find one someday. I'll be patient.
Yep. I know you don't, because you already said you don't, but do you have a my parents got rid of my toys story?
There's, if I thought hard about that, I'd probably come across something where they decided to get rid of it. But no, I had a very understanding mom. I think more or less understanding, and maybe more liked to make up for the depressing, disappointing things in our lives with toys, and that maybe is also the start of an unhealthy relationship with them. But she understood how important they were to me, and so I don't think I have too many of those. Got rid of it, thankfully.
Very cool. Was there ever a moment when you were done with toys? Have you ever considered stopping as a collector, or even selling your whole collection?
Not the whole collection, and I think that is because they're a totem for me. It'd be like selling, not the same as selling my children, but there would be an element of that. It would be kind of down that path. The biggest moment that I had, there were two moments that happened with my video game collection, and it happened with the toy or object collection, was I realized that I was starting to buy things not because I wanted them or because they fit the collection, but because I didn't have them. And when I realized that was the motivating factor behind my buying, like Optimus Primes or video game systems and cartridges, that was where the geek sale started, was me saying, look, I have a whole bunch of stuff I need to get rid of, and I don't want to sell it all on eBay, and I don't want to pay money at a convention, so I had a garage sale, and I sold between that geek sale and finding a dude who wanted to buy everything that was left, I got rid of 85% of my video game collection. that just gone and with a couple of garage sales and that guy, and the action figures that I didn't want got trickled out of the geek sale over the past 9 years. So get rid of it all? No. But have occasional purges where I'm getting rid of those purchases that I regret that I talked about earlier. Yes, all the time. I have a box out in the garage right now getting ready for the next geek sale.
Wow.
I might put Predaking in there. I don't know.
What is something that does not have a toy of it you'd love to have in toy form?
Oh, I'd have to think about that. Man, you can find a Kermit the Frog plush, but it doesn't look right. You can find other Muppets as plushes, but they don't look right. I know there was like a Sesame Street Kickstarter Cookie Monster puppet, legit puppet that you could buy, but even that didn't look right. And I know that they don't want to do that for reasons. They don't want people buying that and then going and making their own
videos
show with them. That's the very reason that they don't do that. But I want a Kermit the Frog puppet that looks like Kermit the Frog. And that's something that I don't think they'll ever sell us, but it'll have to be something that if I want it, I'm going to have to build it. And that's just off the cuff answer right there. I'm sure there's something else that I hadn't thought of yet.
Right.
But
what is a toy that you'd love to have scaled up and functional for real people? This question actually comes from the pull bag, because I always ask people over there in those Origins, what is one item from a comic book that you would love to have in real life, like Green Lantern's ring kind of thing? So that's basically what this is.
Scaled up. So, but it would it become the actual object?
Yes.
My knee-jerk reaction to that is a proton pack.
All right. I find it odd that this question is at number 37 in a row. How have your spouses, significant others, mates, partners, whatever you want to call them, dealt with your collection?
My wife tolerates it when it gets its way up into the living room or the dining room table if I'm building something. But I'd have to really ask her, is there any amount of pride that she has that I feel about the collection? Or is it shame? I know that she is excited to be able to say things to coworkers. You have this thing that you want to get rid of? My son, listen to that. Like golly, that was was that a Freudian slip? I don't think so. My husband does this collecting. You should talk to him if you want to find out how much that's worth, or he knows people at this sale. So there is that kind of pride, but
I don't necessarily think that was a Freudian slip, considering, Oliver's already buying two things to get the two dogs.
Yeah.
So I mean, like father, like son.
I think the implication was that I just called my wife my mom, which is really unhealthy.
No.
That was me doing her voice saying my son. I might have to investigate that later. And I'm sweating now. That was because.
Damn.
Yeah, I know, right?
Man, talk about stuff on the cutting room floor, folks.
No, you don't have to cut that. That's hilarious. Leave that in. And she'd get a kick out of that too. And then she'd be a little disappointed, and then she'd think it's funny. I will have to ask her that. I know she tolerates it when it's a mess upstairs, but there is a little bit of, she gets it, she understands it. And I think there is a small part of her that is jealous that she doesn't have the thing. She cooks. She likes good food and making good food and tasting good food and having good tools in the kitchen. So that is kind of her thing. Aside from the domestic nature of that is her hobby. But she's jealous of the hobbies that I have. And
all right, so I'm just going to ask this because we're free flowing at this point. How many cooking shows does she watch?
We don't have streaming cable. We don't have cable TV, so we're not doing like the Food Network stuff. We used to watch Alton Brown together back in the day, and that's because he's a cooking nerd. But now our cooking shows are Binging with Babish on YouTube and Sam the Cooking Guy on YouTube.
Have you guys ever watched either Grocery Games or Diners, Drive-Ins, or Dives with Guy Fieri?
We did watch Drivers Dive It. Blah, 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 blah.
I can't say it either. Yeah,
we did watch Triple D. And we've gone to a couple of Triple D restaurants because we bought that book back in the day. When we go on vacation, I hit all the comic stores. She brings that book, and we hit all the Triple D places that get listed. The supermarket sweep type game shows, I don't know if we would watch that if we had access to one, but I'm sure she's seen it.
If you have Netflix, the classic supermarket sweep is still on there, I think.
Ooh.
Anyway, yeah. So the reason why I asked that is because, again, this is me, folks. This is where I am in life now. I am all about that Funko life. There is a Guy Fieri Funko Pop that you could get her so she could feel close to the whole cooking toy collecting thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We have one of our buddies that we both met at a board game convention is an illustrator who does the usual kinds of con sketches of the superheroes or the celebrities, and she does her own comics that we've given money. Either way, she's really moved up in that world. And one of the things that I have done for Jenny is that I have commissioned drawings of Alton Brown, Sam the Cooking Guy, and I've built frames for them, and those hang in the kitchen in the dining room. They're very cartoony and delightful illustrations of those characters, of those people drawn as characters. So cool. That's a little bit of a cross collectible for her, I think, as well.
Cool. Awesome. All right, let's see. Where are we here? We are at what part of collecting do you struggle with?
I have too many projects involving the collection. Like I need to fix that, repair that, paint that model kit. I need to build the shelf for this. Thankfully, I'm a teacher and I have summers off, so I do have more freedom than most people. If all this stuff was in boxes or piled in a corner, then it would be a problem. And I'm thankful that I do have the freedom to be able to do those things. But the ADD in me means I have a hard time picking the one thing and prioritizing the things that solve the problems. But I'm getting there. I got time.
There you go. What is one positive and one negative memory you have with buying toys?
When the first Transformers movie came out, there was a Target near me that broke street date on the movie figures, and I found the Leader Class Optimus Prime, which I was going to buy because it was Optimus, and it's the $50 figure or $45 figure at the time, and I take it up to the cash register. Boop, she beeps it, and it rang up at $19.99. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Can I go get the other one? And I went back and I got the other one with the intent of flipping it.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I did the dirtbag thing. But I think fate and karma got me, because I went home and I put that thing right on eBay, and the street date was like 4 days from then. And I initially listed it as a 7-day auction, and it didn't sell the first day, and it didn't sell the second day. And I had to buy it now of something. I don't remember what it was. I tried to make the money on it, and I didn't sell it. And somebody said, nobody's buying it because they're going to get it after the street date. You needed to sell it before the street date and get it into somebody's hands. And so I unlisted it and relisted it as before the street date, and ended up not making I made the $20 plus shipping on it, but I was intending to sell it for like $60.
Yeah.
So that I could get that Optimus Prime for free, essentially.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out. And that was probably one of the last times. So that's kind of a dirty taste in my mouth memory.
I tried doing that a couple of times with a couple of Funkos, and it didn't really work. So.
Yep.
If you could create any toy, what would you want to create? Like basically Hasbro or Mattel or whomever gives you the keys to the kingdom, money is no object.
Yikes. They've probably already made it. I mean, they've probably already made it. Like knee-jerk reaction is an Optimus Prime, but I have one sitting on my desk. The second knee-jerk reaction, and maybe it's just because it's where I'm sitting, but I want a grown-up sized proton pack. But I'm a crafter. I can build that, and I know that they've released versions of that, or at least third-party people. The costume crew you could buy proton packs.
Right.
I don't have an answer for that right away. I would have to really think on that, because I get into the boardroom or I get into the idea room and say more points of articulation, more paint apps, but what they build would be up to them. I do look at it as I'm giving money or my appreciation to the engineers, to those creatives. You know, that got me. I want an action figure of the character that I invented way back in high school that lives in my head. So I've got that superhero that is the power fantasy for me that I drew into little comics back in the day. Yeah, I want an action figure of him.
So you want Joe the Hawaiian Shirt Man?
That's what this dude is when he takes the helmet and the armor off. I want the guy in the armor. I made a Joe Reed action figure in high school. I sculpted a little version of me in clay, and I drew a Star Wars Power of the Force 10-back thing on cardboard and ripped a bubble off of a figure and put me in the bubble and glued the bubble to that drawing, and I have that somewhere.
Wow.
In a little Hawaiian shirt or a plaid shirt and khaki shorts or something.
What is the one piece of advice you would give the toy collecting fandom?
Limit yourself. Focus your collection, because if you go, it's more important to have 3 very high quality pieces than it is to have 30 crappy quality pieces. So for every Pez dispenser that I bought in the 2000s of Optimus Prime or something, like that could have added up to being one good Optimus Prime figure, and I should have done that. But I have right here in a binder Dad's very own Pokemon trading card game base set. When my son started getting into Pokemon cards, I collected them with him, just kind of like, he wanted them, and there's one that I need. And I have the Gotta Catch 'em All in the bottom corner of this illustration that I did on the cover of this binder, like I'm in high school. And I crossed out Catch 'em All and said, gotta limit myself. Limit yourself and target a particular thing. If that means collecting one version of a character or only the best versions of the lead 5 characters, that's what you do. Because otherwise you'll end up with every single figure, and then you just have a problem that you're going to leave for your relatives after you die.
There you go. What is advice you'd give to kids who enjoy toys?
Keep your toys and keep them in good condition, and don't lose the parts. That's very difficult, I think. And that's a topic of another podcast, is that I don't think kids play with toys like we did. I think that is that type of play is almost dead because we have the video games now. I'm a little concerned that's going that way, but I'm so very thankful that I was gentle with my toys. I have very, very few of my childhood toys that I have were ever missing pieces or broken, And, how good do I feel that I don't have to spend $15 to buy a G1 Optimus Prime fist right now, because I didn't lose mine.
There you go. Awesome. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this episode of ToyCast. You have any info for geek stuff that you want to give out? Facebook page, email address, or any of that kind of stuff?
Yep, let's. We are on Facebook.com/GeekStuffGarageSale, all one word. Look to that website for announcements on future dates, on information about becoming a vendor for free, or just email me and ask questions about stuff. I would love to have some messages come from podcasters or podcast listeners coming to me from there. But we're looking to do a sale, I think, first, second, third week of September sometime, barring a new variant or something crazy.
There you go. All right, folks. Thank you for joining us here on ToyCast. If you'd like to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show, there are several ways to do so. Visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on this and all of our other content. Send an email to feedback@geekcastradio.com. Just put in the subject line ToyCast and whatever episode number you're responding to. Here are all the ways you can listen to us nowadays: Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, and of course, the home where our files exist, Spreaker, as well as any other podcast client you choose. But I prefer you use one of these. Leave the show's feedback in iTunes. Please do this. We are back here at ToyCast, and we are trying to do the best podcast that we can. Follow us on Twitter. @GeekCast Radio is the network. Twitter @TFToycast is the show. I am @TFG1Mike. Become a fan on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/GeekCast Radio Network. For now, I am TFG1Mike with
Joe Reed. The advice and the feedback on that line is going to be, that dude talks too much.
No, it's not. Join us next time when we'll be talking more toys here on ToyCast.